Let's move on to the sphere. So a sphere is like a globe. It has no corners and it's 100% round. So we're going to start by drawing a flat circle, and our shading is going to trick the eye. Be a little bit smaller so we have room for our cast shadow. Our shading is going to trick the eye into thinking that this is popping out of the page, that it is rounded. Now, this one is probably one of the hardest because it, like the cylinder, it doesn't have any straight sides. It's rounded this way, it's rounded this way, it's rounded every way. So, what we want to do is decide where our core shadow is going to be. I think we're going to do a new light source. Let's do our light source right there. Alright? So we're going to do a rounded line this way, and this is going to be our core shadow. Nice and dark. We're then going to gradually get lighter down to our reflective light. Again, make sure you are getting lighter, not staying the same as your core shadow. Just like that. Now we can't have the highlight that much. That would be a little ridiculous. So let's start rounding this out. Again, you don't want it to go from dark to super light. You want to get there gradually. That circle would be the circle highlight would be slightly higher up. Just like that. And again, let's make that a little bit more gradual. And now is when you can start shading a little bit the other way. So again, start out with light curvy lines going the opposite way. And then you can gradually get darker in the parts that are meant to be darker. And you want to stick with the contours of the sphere. That. And this part kind of changes right here. So now we're going this direction. Got a little rounder, got a little sloppy there. And maybe bring this around this way. This way. Stick with those contour lines, don't forget that. Just about done. I'm just finagling right now. Alright, now for a sphere, you have a rounded cast shadow. So what we're going to do is we're going to start about here. We're going to do a circle, a light circle that goes around. And again, this part that touches the sphere is going to be the darkest. Ooh, I'm pressing so hard the table's shaking. And this is flat against the surface of the table, so you don't need to worry about rounding it. This can just be nice, flat, straight lines. At this point, I'm used to turning the paper, but I don't want to do that because then that'll take it out of the camera angle. And there you have it. There is our sphere. We're now going to move on to the donut. The donut is actually one I have not drawn in a long time. So, the donut's probably, I take back what I said about the sphere, the donut is the hardest one. So we're going to start out, donut is circular, but donut has two circles, one on the outside and one on the inside, which means you're going to have to shade on the outside and the inside of this object. Just like that. Alright, so we have our light source, we're going to say is coming from about right here. Which means we're going to have highlights along this area and highlights along this area. So our core shadow will be about right here. And our donut is rounded, so we want to show that with rounded lines. You can start out light if you want. You can also go around like this for your core shadow. Some more straight lines. The top is not quite as rounded as the sides. Let's also do from the bottom. Let's do some of that reflected light, so that would not be as light as where the highlight is. And they kind of meet right there in the middle at the highlight. Let's come around to this side. Just like that. Doing rounded lines. And it shouldn't quite look like a donut yet because we're still forming it. I'm going to make this part a little bit bigger right here. That's another thing that you can do as you're shading. You can slightly change the shape if you think it needs to be. So down here is our reflective light, so we don't want that to be as light as our highlights. Right here is going to be highlights, but right here can be reflective light as well. let's come around to, I think we're gonna actually make this a little bit bigger. There. Coming around like that. Bring in this a little more. And for this one, sometimes it's easier to just take a break from one area and then go on to another area. So we've got really dark right here. Again, I don't think we want as much highlight as we currently have, so we'll add a little more mid-tone. Bring a little darker mid-tone in there. And come around a little more like this. This part we need to round. Forget about that. Alright, let's add that cast shadow in. We can always come back and switch some things around if we need to. So it's going to be, this one's actually going to have two cast shadows. One on the inside and one on the outside. So we want to show that reflective light, but then we want the darkest part to be touching the donut. And again, this is on a table, I'm assuming. Maybe it's on the ground, maybe somebody dropped it. And it's going to be flat. And you want to go from dark to light. You can always get darker, so you can start out by shading light. And then you can go back around and make it more gradual. Just like that. Alright, now I think my donut's looking a little flat down here. So I think I'm actually going to extend this reflective light and extend my shadow a bit. And sometimes you don't realize it until you actually see the shadow on it. There we go, that's much better. Alright, and now we have another shadow coming from in here. So this time, we're going to go around where that reflective light is, just like that. And we're going to go from dark to light. And I think I want to add, so this is telling me that I think I want to add some more midtones right here. Slightly darker right here. And you can finagle this based on how you want it to look or how you think it should look. We're just playing around right now. That part darker and that part darker. That's getting better. And there you have it. There is your donut.